Okay, welcome. So we are going to make some changes to our Quarto website and then talk about how we can commit those changes into GitHub and update our website. So far I've got some files locally on my computer that I can edit using RStudio or Posit Cloud. And then I've got a GitHub repo that I call demo site, where those same files are located under version control. And from these files, we configured our GitHub pages to publish the website using this address, username.github.io, and then maybe the name of the repo. So this is a very boring website, but this is just the generic template. So what I want to talk about is just the overall workflow of how I want to make, in this case, it'll be a pretty basic change to the document, and just see how I can move that change over into GitHub and then how that website is going to be updated. And let's say I want to do the following. I want to change the title of my web page. So in that Quarto YAML file, way at the very first line, it says website, and then indented, it says title. And the default title is just going to be the name of the directory that you created. But usually you want the title of the website, and that's what's going to appear over here, to be something more descriptive than demo site. So oftentimes the directory name is not what you want to use for the title, but that's the default. So yes, if you're setting up like a professional website, you could use your name as the title. So you can title this however you like. This is going to be just a silly demo website. So for any fans of The Office, I am going to give myself the title Assistant to the Regional Data Manager, which is different than the Assistant Regional Data Manager. So this is going to be my title. And here, the point is just to illustrate how you can work with these files, not for me to create a really nice professional website for myself. So this is going to be a pretty ridiculous website I'm going to set up for myself, but it will illustrate how you can go through the process. So I'm going to just copy this text, go into RStudio, and plop that down over here in the title. So right below the website says title. I'm going to update that with assistant to the regional manager. And first, I'm going to save that file. And so keep in mind, if you're working with GitHub, that change has just been stored locally on my computer. Going into GitHub and opening the Quarto YAML file, it still is called demo site. So that change has not been synced with the version in the main repo in GitHub. So if you're doing the drag and drop method, then what you can do is just go into your demo site, say add a file, upload a file. You can come over here into the demo site. The file that we just changed was the Quarto YAML, and you can drag that over here. And then you could type a message that says changed the title. And then you'd want to click the commit changes button, and that's going to commit those changes over into GitHub. So that is one way to do it. I won't do it that way. Instead, I'm going to also do this using the terminal, just so you see both methods. So if you're familiar with the terminal method or the command line method, I've got my terminal open. I am inside the directory demo site. And so what I need to do, remember, this is a two-step process. I'm going to commit well, first of all, I can run git status, and this is going to tell me that this Quarto YAML was modified. Then I can go ahead and say I want to commit that modified file for change. So I'm going to do git commit and then underscore Quarto YAML. If you made changes to multiple files, you could just put a star over here, and that's going to commit all of the files that you've changed. Then I'm going to type a message. So here I'm going to say updated the title. So that has kind of staged that for commit. So if I do status here, it's going to say there is one file that is staged for commit, but it hasn't been committed yet unless I push it. So now I'm going to push that change and apply it to the files that are in GitHub. So now that change has been pushed through. I don't see that change to the Quarto YAML yet. It says this was last updated 35 minutes ago. But if I refresh, now I can see that this was just updated now and it got updated. The title got updated. So I can see that change was applied inside of the Quarto YAML. And now if I click on this, I can see that the change has been applied over here. However, if I go to my website and click refresh, that title does not appear over here. And the reason why is I didn't render that change in RStudio. So there was an important thing that I missed, and I missed it on purpose just to illustrate that point. So I want to go back into RStudio, and this is how this process works. You make a change, but you're not totally done. So you want to fiddle with it some more and then push it back into GitHub. So what I didn't do was I never rendered this change to HTML. So I made this change. There's no render button for me to click over here. But when I'm on a Quarto document, a .qmd file, there is a render button. So I'm going to render this file to HTML. Should not take very long because there's not any R code to run besides 1+1. Now it's going to open it. And now this is a local version on my computer. You can see that this has been updated over here. This is the GitHub version. And even if I refresh this, we still have the original version of the website. And that's because not only do I need to push the changes to the YAML file that I made, I also need to push the changes that were made to the HTML files after I rendered them. So I need to go, you can do this in two ways again. You can go into your file manager and go into GitHub, back into the main site over here. And then you can choose to upload files if you want to do it with the drag and drop method. And here I would want to copy multiple files. So I changed the Quarto, and you can see the dates that I modified them over here. Also, a bunch of files in docs got changed after I rendered it to HTML again, after changing the Quarto YAML file. So I would take both of these things, drag them over here, because this is also going to stage all of the changes that were made to these files inside of the docs. I would type a message like updating title to HTML files, and then click the commit change button, and that would then be reflected in the GitHub website after a minute. I will do this through the terminal again. That's how I'm more frequently do this. So I'm going to go into the terminal and I can run git status. And now it's saying that the only thing that was changed was actually the only HTML file that got changed was the index.html file. But I am going to go ahead and commit that. Maybe it changed like multiple HTML files. So I'm just going to do star, which means commit everything that has been changed. And here I'm going to say updating index HTML with new title. And you can get as descriptive or not as you like. So that has staged that file for commit. You can see it has not pushed that change. So if I come over here, I'm not seeing that updated. But now I'm going to go ahead and push that change through. When I come into GitHub and I refresh this, I can see that the docs was just updated and I have that message over there. And now when I refresh this page, it might not show that change right away. It hasn't shown it yet. But you can see here, it will take a minute or two. Okay, sorry. Before we go, I paused the video. I do want to just confirm that now when I refresh that page, I haven't done anything else. This is appearing. I did get antsy. It did take a minute. I was refreshing, worried that this change didn't get updated. You just need to be patient. It did get updated. I was able to track that change over here. So the fact that I saw this message let me know that the HTML file changes did get pushed through. And it did take me a minute of nervous refreshing before I saw my brand new title appear on top of this page. So in the subsequent videos, we're going to continue making changes. And again, that workflow is going to be like making changes to local files. Once you've got the website looking good locally on your computer, you can push all of those changes into GitHub, and then the GitHub version of the website will get updated with those same changes.